can you eat on GLP-1s when you have zero appetite? Imagine this, because I hear it a lot. You're barely eating all week. You notice your appetite is gone. There's maybe even a little bit of nausea around food, but you're not eating the junk that you ate before. You're not eating the huge meals that you had before. Excess calories aren't creeping in. You're noticing the scale weight go down. Clothes are getting a little bit baggy as your frame's shrinking. Maybe even a vein has popped up here and there and you're getting compliments from your wife. Fantastic. But then when it comes to the point just before your redose of Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, whatever you're taking, even if that's a dual or a triple agonist, if you've gone down that route yourself, when it comes to the day before you're meant to inject again, you may notice your appetite increases, and this is the opportunity for people to binge. We want to avoid that. We don't want to end the week with a huge calorific binge that is the on-off cycle that you were doing before you even considered getting on GLP-1s. This is how people get overweight. It's not just through consistently eating loads and loads every single day over time. It's through thinking they're doing okay in the week, blowing it at the weekend, getting upset on the Monday and Tuesday and emotional eating, going good again Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, blowing it at the weekend, constantly over time. If you zoom out, it's a step ladder on the way up, not necessarily just a straight line. We can avoid that through the things I'm going to explain in this video. I'm also going to teach you how you can eat to support maintaining your muscle and building it, and make sure your time on Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. isn't wasted, even when you've got no appetite to actually eat. So here's how we do that without force feeding, so you end up nauseous, or potentially under eating and risk losing the muscle mass that you've currently got. As I've said in many videos, GLP-1s are great. I think they're a powerful tool that are potentially going to change the world. Not just about weight loss. I hate the fact that they're called skinny jabs, because who the fuck wants to be skinny? You've got no appetite when you're on these drugs. So how can you eat the right amount of protein to maintain your muscle? How can you eat the right amount of fat to build your hormones and your cellular health? How can you eat the right amount of carbs to give you the energy for your day-to-day activities and your training when you have no appetite from this drug? Here's how. Step number one, you need to set a protein floor. When I've worked previously with clients doing fat loss transformations in 8 to 12 weeks, 16 weeks, we're trying to get as shredded as possible, we cut out most carbs. You will lose a lot of water weight, of course, but you will eventually start burning fat, not just the carbs that's gone into your system. And then when training plateaus, we increase the amount of carbs, you've got more energy. But in terms of that rapid transformation, carbs are the least essential macronutrient to have at that time. We want fat to fuel your system, to fuel your hormones. We want protein to build and maintain your muscle mass, as well as the many other roles that that protein has in your system. We are not doing your standard 8 to 12, 16 week rapid fat loss transformation when you are on GLP-1s. To try and achieve that is foolish. You would end up burning yourself into the ground. You'll end up with such high side effects, nausea, intestinal discomfort, that you're probably going to end up coming off the drugs like a lot of people do. If you're going on them, you want to make sure that by the end of it, it was a successful journey. And then we just maintain what you've achieved afterwards. We set a protein floor. Guys doing those natural transformations, like I've just said, it need a lot of protein. Maybe 1.4 minimum grams per kilogram of body weight. I've had guys that we've taken up to 1.8. I've had guys that we've done at 2. It's a lot of protein. And the reason for that, it's not just to build it. I mean, if you're eating extra protein, not necessarily building extra muscle, but it's to build the muscle, and it's to keep you fuller, to blunt the appetite through protein, through the food that you're having. It takes longer to digest protein than it does fat and carbs. So therefore, if you've got more protein in your gut, it's going to take longer to get out of there. You feel fuller for longer. This is the effect the GLP-1 is going to have for you anyway. So if you've got less of an appetite, trying to eat mammoth protein-based meals with potentially 50 grams of protein at a time, with veg on top as well, you're fighting a losing battle. So what we do is we take a step back and look more towards maintenance levels of nutrition. If you eat 0.8 grams per kilogram of your body of protein every single day, you're going to maintain your frame and your health for some time. There's a risk you may become deficient for people that haven't got huge appetites anyway, or for smaller framed people, they don't need huge amounts of protein. But we want to build and maintain muscle whilst you're on these GLP-1s, fuel your hormones and all the other reasons we want these amino acids in our bloodstream. So 1.2 grams, I want you to write this down. I want you to get a calculator out and figure it out. 1.2 grams, I'm going to do that with you as we go, because my maths is terrible and I always carry a calculator with me. And the day comes that you can put a calculator into your wrist, I'm 100% going for that. Neuralink, Elon Musk, if you're listening, calculator in the wrist, please, before you do anything in my brain. 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So if you weigh 85 kilograms, which I do, times 1.2 means you're going to have 102 grams of protein per day. Now I can already hear PT screaming, that's not enough protein, they need double that, they need a lot more than that. But again, you look at the science, what the science says about maintaining your muscle and trying to maintain your muscle when you've got no appetite. 100 grams a day is going to be fine. Going to be absolutely fine. You're not going to have any issue there at all. But let's go slightly higher. Let's give you a zone to work in so you're not obsessing over hitting one number and panicking when you're slightly above or below. So 85 kilos again, times 1.4, because your zone is 1.2 to 1.4, is 119. So let's round it up. 120 grams a day. That is more than doable. That's quite easily done across 2 to 3 meals, or even a couple of little snacks if you've got the appetite to do so. Here's a couple of little tips as well that I'll give you. In terms of your big meals where you want veg on the side because you want to be healthy and you want the protein, eat the protein first. Previously, with other fat loss transformation clients, I would have said eat all the veg first and then get your protein in. So you're getting a bit more nutrition that you've skipped out for years. Eat the protein first because that's a thing that you're going to miss out on and you risk potentially losing lean mass whilst you're on these GLP-1s. We want enough protein in your body to protect the muscle without hitting your appetite ceiling where you just can't eat anymore. Another thing you could do if you notice you're eating the protein, you just can't finish that meal because the appetite's already disappeared. And there are people that report this couple of mouthfuls into their meal, is to remember you don't have to eat it all in that one sitting. You can eat a decent amount of what's on your plate or in your lunchbox, whatever you've made, and if you feel full, you stop. And then you can come back to it a little bit later. Maybe 20 minutes later, you notice, do you know what, I could actually finish that. Or maybe you create the routine that allows you to finish it by eating until you're full, going for a 10-minute walk, which is going to aid digestion, aid the food going through your system. And it means your focus is not on the food in front of you, because we are humans. We have the habit of getting obsessed with this stuff and thinking we have to be perfect. We have to get it all in us now. Eat until you're full, which is what I would tell any client on GLP-1s or not. Go for a little walk, do something else entirely, get your brain off food, go back to it. Another little tip you can do to get this protein in your system early, protein shakes. If I say you're going to have nothing but protein shakes, half the fitness industry will lose its mind saying I'm giving destructive information out and I'm going to make people ill. Protein shakes, whey protein shakes, to an extent casein. Whey protein shakes are perfectly safe. And when you are on something like a GLP-1, just getting the protein in your system, a quality protein, is of the utmost importance. So shakes are one of the best tools there that we can possibly use. And if you double scoop your shake, you can end up with 40, potentially 50 grams of protein in that shake, and that's a lot easier to guzzle down than it is trying to eat a couple of chicken breasts, 3 chicken breasts, etc. I've jumped the gun there a little bit. Step 1 is that protein floor. 1.2 grams to 1.4 grams per kilogram of your body weight in protein every single day. To make life easier for yourself whilst you're on a GLP-1, which is going to take care of your calorie deficit, only track your protein. Don't worry about tracking fat and carbs and overall calories and weekly average calories, etc. Just track your protein so we take your brain off of food. Step 2 is to front load your protein. I want you to take note of when you notice your appetite is the highest. Is it first thing in the morning? Is it after exercise? Is it after a long walk? Or maybe it's even in the evening. Where your appetite is highest throughout the day is your best chance of getting the most amount of protein in, or the highest quality protein that you can. If you haven't got the appetite to have multiple protein hits across the day, then having the majority of your protein in one hit is probably better. I think most people when they go on GLP-1s will end up not intermittently fasting, but accidentally fasting, because that early morning breakfast and the snack on the commute and the brunch and the lunch and the 2-3 p.m. sugar crash where you go get more sugar, and then dinner and dessert in the evening, that pattern's gone. You're not going to have the appetite to do so. So therefore, you don't really know when your appetites are high throughout the day because your appetite's fucked anyway. But if we take the time to listen to our body, where our appetite is lowest, fine, you don't have to eat. You can fast there. Doesn't mean we're trying to get anything extra magical from fasting or anything like that, but fasting's a great tool. We're just trying to work with where your appetite is, limit the amount of nausea, and stand the best chance of getting the right amount of protein at 1.4 grams in, so you're not risking losing lean mass. Again, like I said there, protein shakes are a godsend. You started your day with a double scoop protein shake, you're going to see pretty decent results in a short space of time. Step 3 is to choose low volume proteins. Volume means just the amount of food that's on your plate. So this means we want protein sources that have got a decent amount of protein in per 100 grams, let's say, but you don't have to eat a kilogram of that particular thing to get that amount of protein. If you are vegan, vegetarian, I've got a lot of love for you, but you're going to have a harder journey hitting the same amount of protein because you've got to get more food in your system because there is less protein per gram of each thing. And we can, again, there's going to be vegans that argue, I've had that before if you know my old Instagram account, and that's absolutely fine. We can talk about the actual data. But low volume foods, protein foods, over anything else to begin with. When your appetite is gone, the volume matters more than the variety. So previously with fat loss clients, we try to vary the diet as much as we can so you don't get bored. When you haven't got the appetite anyway and your dopamine's blunted a little bit by food because of the GLP-1s, variety doesn't matter as much. Let's focus on using protein as the right tool, using the right meal structure throughout the day when your appetite's highest. So rather than trying to get every protein source under the sun in your diet in a week, let's just choose the low volume protein sources that you enjoy, that you can digest correctly, and you can eat without hitting that appetite ceiling. Most people, I find this to be protein shakes, like I've already said, shredded chicken rather than solid chicken breast. So again, chuck it in the slow cooker, boil it, which sounds horrendous and what you would feed to your dog, but then shred it afterwards. Maybe you fry it up in something nice afterwards. Shred the chicken because you could probably get more per mouthful. And let's face it, it's a little bit softer, it's easier to digest. Shredded chicken, trust me on this one, it's a game changer. 10% fat minced beef. Again, no, everyone's on the 5% game at the moment because they want lower fat because there's less calories in your diet. GLP-1's taking care of that deficit for you. We can get a bit more fat in there for 2 reasons. One, your body needs fat. You need it for your hormones, you need it for your cells, you need it for your sex drive, you need it for reproductive health, you need fat in your diet. Obviously, we're not going to go for the 20% because then it's just swimming in it. 10% fat over 5%, trust me on this, tastes nicer. The 5%, everything can go a little bit dry. You're removing all the fat from your food, which is part of the tasty thing anyway. 10% is the sweet spot. Tuna, tins of tuna, remarkably high protein for such a small tin. There are other protein sources out there, of course there are. There's other red meats, there's porks, which is not necessarily the thing I tell you to go for. But tuna, those little tins of tuna are little protein powerhouses in quite a small little frame that you can wolf down on its own if you want to be old school, or you can put it in something. One of my favourite little things to do for a lunch, 2 tins of tuna, lemon, garlic, a little bit of chilli. Tastes incredible. It's like Michelin star level, that is, for, you know, budget cooking for guys like me. The last one I would then consider using is Greek yogurt, and not using the low fat 0% total phage, even though they tell you it's pronounced faye, no, it's phage, come on, it's F-A-G-E. The low fat ones, again, might be a little bit thicker, might be a little bit tougher to scoop down the right amount of protein you need, but ones with a bit more fat in there, that little bit creamier, suddenly a bit more enjoyable. Just look on the label, don't necessarily go for the ones that are laden with sugar and other ingredients. Keep it as plain as you can, maybe a little bit extra fruit, a little bit extra honey. One of those crushed meringue nests are like 50 calories a pop. It's going to make it feel like a much more enjoyable food, a little bit more like a dessert, even though it's not a dessert like the rest of the industry wants you to think it is. Those are the things. Shakes, shredded chicken, 10% minced beef, tins of tuna, and Greek yogurt. Those are the low volume, high protein foods that I would recommend once you go onto GLP-1s, you can repeat having pretty much every single day. And step 4 is permission to stop. This is something I've alluded to earlier. You don't have to eat that entire meal in one go. Let me take the example of someone that wants to put on weight, that wants to put on muscle. They have to go into a calorie surplus, have to eat more than they are burning, or just above. Doesn't mean that you go absolutely haywire and eat nothing but pizzas, because you're going to look like shit at the end. We need to increase the amount of calories that you're eating. That can be tough for people, especially if they have lost some of the appetite that they had before through dieting, or they just don't feel like having massive meals. My advice to those people would be, let's say they had 300 grams of rice on that particular plate. That might be tough to get through with the extra protein and veg and whatever else they've got in there. So trying to cram it all down in one go, you're going to feel sick, you're going to feel nauseous, you're not going to eat it all. Similar effect to what you might experience when you're on GLP-1s trying to lose weight. So therefore we eat until you're full, and then you say, it's okay, I feel full, I'm giving myself permission to stop and do something else and come back to this. If you eat it all in one go and you don't feel nauseous and you feel great, fantastic, you're winning, you don't need to change anything. But for the rest of us where nausea might creep in, or the appetite is really pushing back and you don't want to eat anymore, it's fine, you stop, you move on. here's what you can do. You can either focus on something else entirely so your brain is not worried about food. That can be watching a YouTube video such as this one, or listen to a podcast, or going for a walk, or going to talk to someone, or even going back to work for a little bit. As long as you make the commitment that you've got to go back and eat what you left, so you're still hitting that protein floor, you're still hitting your minimum numbers, you're not risking losing lean muscle mass. Often your appetite can return after going and doing something else. So you might eat until full, 10-minute walk, listening to something, getting away from the lunchbox or the plate that's got the food on it. Just for 10 minutes can be enough to allow the appetite to return, allow the food to go a little bit further into the digestive system and give you the room to eat the rest of it. Again, it's not majorly important that we hit a certain calorie ceiling, because again, the GLP-1s are going to push you down into a deficit anyway, but we can just assist it by making sure we're eating the right amount of protein, getting some activity in, not getting too stressed. Like I've said in other videos, stress matters as well. And if you're stressing yourself out over the food, then you risk making yourself feel sick, or potentially even getting to the point where you binge when it comes to your redosing time. I want you to remember, it takes a lot to lose muscle. The pathway is in your body to turn muscle into glucose to be used as fuel. But it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of suffering to do so. We're talking long, intense physical bouts of exercise or endurance or whatever it is you're doing with minimal nutrition. And that's not what you're going to be doing whilst on a GLP-1. So don't listen too much to the media hype that you're losing a ton of muscle. It takes a lot of bad things for that system to be activated. If you're eating a decent amount of protein, if you're training with weights, as I've said in the training video, in the strength training blueprint video, if you are progressively overloading the weight that you're lifting over time, and if you are managing your stress, your sleep, your daily activity, and not changing your dosage too much, then there's no reason for your body to lose muscle. You will lose lean mass. That includes a little bit of muscle, but the 30 to 40% that all the media establishments and the rest of the fitness industry is screaming about as to why you shouldn't go on Ozempic and GLP-1s because you're going to lose 30-40% of your muscle mass is a myth. They've not looked at the actual data of what's going on there. And I can send you the link to that if you're interested. You're not losing 30 to 40% muscle. You're losing some muscle within that 30 to 40%. But what you are losing is water. You are losing stored carbs that are in the muscle. You are losing some of the white fat that's marbled throughout your muscle, which we do not want being there. There's nothing wrong with those. Those are net positives. That's what we want to happen when we're dieting. That's why you're on these GLP-1s, to get rid of the junk in your system, not just the stored fat under your skin, the stored fat around your organs, which is very dangerous. You are restabilizing your hormones based around your blood sugar management, your insulin, your glucagon. There are a whole list of other benefits to these GLP-1s beyond fat loss, and that's a subject for another video, which hopefully you find if you subscribe to my channel and keep watching. But the other thing that you can do is jump in the caption or the link in my bio, where you'll find a link to join my age-proof weekly dose, which is my email I send out every single week that gives you extra help, extra support, extra awareness and education around, if you are on GLP-1s or considering going on them, how you can structure your life, your support system, your nutrition, your training, your lifestyle, to get the most out of your time on that drug without rebounding, without having to come off because the side effects are too high, without worrying about becoming skinny fat, how to combat the judgment that you may get from friends and other PTs and the rest of the industry because you've made the choice to go onto these things. Now, to make sure your time on it is successful, the time and the potential money you may invest into it was worth it. So at the end, you look happy, you look healthy, you look lean and sexy. Your wife bites her bottom lip when you take your top off. Your kids are inspired by you, and you've got the energy to play with them all day without saying daddy's too tired and got to lie down, and you go on the iPad instead. That's all the stuff you're going to get when you join the weekly redose. So make sure you jump on that link. If you have any comments or questions about what I put in this video, comments are always open. I respond to every single one of them. Make sure you subscribe because it helps the channel go a long way as well. And stay tuned for the next vid.